Hello dear chess friends, and thank you for purchasing this video series. Welcome. My name is Jan Markos. I'm a Slovak grandmaster, a chess author and a coach, and I'm going to create a 5-volume video series about the subtleties of piece play in the middle game. So we'll speak about the secrets of different pieces: queens, rooks, knights, bishops, and of course the king. And this is a part which will be dedicated to rooks. Of course, I cannot know whether you decided to purchase also the other parts, so let me please introduce this approach. Normally, when you have a middle game book or a middle game video series or an article, the authors would focus on some, I don't know, tactical motive or strategical motive or pawn structure. And I think that we are missing out something really important, that we might get to know the pieces in some relations or as they are showing themselves in some tactical motive or so, but we are not really getting to know the pieces themselves. And this video series is designed to do exactly this. We will not focus on the endgames because there is quite a lot of material which deals with, I don't know, rook endgames or queen endgames or so. We will focus on the middle game, where the characteristics of the pieces is, as I can say from my coaching experience, unknown also to quite strong players. What do I mean? You will see it shortly in a few minutes. Every piece has got very unique characteristics, and you can use it in some way, but it's not so convenient to use it in some other way. For example, with queens, you can use them as very good attackers, but they are not good defenders at all. Why? You will find it in the queen part of the series. With rooks, they also have unique characteristics that make them good at some jobs and bad at some others. So knowing the pieces is like knowing the tools in your toolbox. I mean, you wouldn't do some things with a hammer, but you would do some other things with a knife, of course, because there are different tools. The same applies to the pieces. You wouldn't do with a knight what you would probably happily do with a rook, for example. Okay, so in this introductory video or introductory chapter, I will focus on 3 very important characteristics of the rooks. Let's dive in. Let's have a look at the first position. Of course, it's a scheme, it's not a legal position, but for our purposes, it will be really good. So let's have a look at this rook which is standing on d5. And the question is, could you just tell me instantly how many squares does it control? Probably not. Even my titled pupils would have problem with that, and they will just have to sit and count the squares. So let's do that. So it's 7 on the column and 7 on the row. So you have 14 squares. Let's compare it with this lovely knight, lovely centralized knight on e4. So we have a knight and it controls 8 squares. So the ratio between these two is 14:8, which is of course favorable for the rook, but not that much. It's not even like 2:1 ratio. Let's now have a look at the a1 rook. The rook on a1 controls 7 squares on a file and 7 on a row, which is again 14. And let's compare it to this knight on h8. It controls just 2 squares, f7 and g6. So the ratio now is not like 14:8, but 14:2, which is like 7:1. You can see that there is something happening with the rook when the gravity of play changes from the center to the corner of the chessboard. The rooks are the only pieces on the board which are insensitive to centralization. On an open board, you can put the rook on any place you want. It will always control 14 squares. Whereas when you are taking the knights into account, the knights are the pieces that are like most prone to centralization. They just love to be centralized because the ratio between the cornered knight and the centralized knight is just like 4-1, which is quite a lot. 8-2, which is 4-1, of course. So when the rook is interacting with some minor piece, especially the knight, it will be much, much stronger when this interaction happens somewhere in the corner or at least on some edge of the board, on the first rank, 8th rank, A file, H file, or in the corner. Especially the rooks are especially strong when they fight along the G file, H file, 7th rank, 8th rank, or in the corners. This might seem to be a little bit abstract, but let's have a look now at a practical position from my praxis where this knowledge has actually saved my life. Let's have a look at the game between myself playing the white pieces and Marian Jurčík, a Slovak GM, playing the black pieces. As you can see, the position of white is not very optimistic. He's got just one single rook against 2 pieces. White does not even have like an extra pawn in addition to the rook to compensate for the fact that the opponent has got 2 minor pieces, and which is usually a better material than the rook. And even when you are looking at the pawn structure, white's pawn structure is actually quite awful. This G5 pawn is very weak. These pawns are doubled, so yeah, and this E6 pawn is actually a passed pawn. So there are not many chances for white. Without the A pawns, white would be just simply lost in the position. But there are A pawns, and we know already that the rooks are pretty strong when they are playing on the edges of the board or in the corner. So I knew that if I am able to somehow take the A7 pawn, so if I'm able to play to move my rook somewhere to the queen side, take the A7 pawn, and then run with my A pawn, this might be a very nice saving attempt. So I was trying to sneak to the A7 pawn somehow, just to get some counterplay and to show my rook in a situation where it is really, really strong. So I played rook c4. Black played knight e3. Now immediate rook c7 does not really help, because black can simply play, for example, a6, and he will be able to cover the pawn there. So I played rook c5, just trying to be a little bit difficult to read. And now black played bishop e4, king c3, trying to improve the position of the king before I start a direct assault on the pawn. Yeah, and here black has to be very, very precise to actually win the game. If you feel like that, and I really believe in interactivity when we are doing some coaching stuff together, I would really love you to pause the video at some moments and just think about the position yourself, and not just look at the video series as at some kind of a movie where you are passively consuming the content. So if you feel like that, just please pause the video now and think about how to stop the white's rook from taking on a7. Do it now, please. I'm sure that sooner or later you found a very interesting defense of the pawn by black. The best move here for black is something like knight d5. And after king d4, black can take on g2. And after rook a5, as you can see, the c7 square is not accessible for the white rook. Black can go knight e7. And now black has finally got some stability. There is no rook a7 because of the fork, and once the knight comes to c6, of course, the a7 pawn will be protected, and black will get the chance to slowly win the game. For example, after king c5, knight c6, rook a6, black can simply go king g6 because this is pretty much winning for black. I know, king g5, king b7, a5, king b6, a4 should be simply winning for black. We can prolong the line a little bit. King f4, a5, king f3, a6, e2. Okay, it's not absolutely clear, one has to calculate, but as you can see, black is winning quite nicely. After king c3, black had to do some kind of prophylaxis to actually save the a7 pawn, but Jurczyk was a bit reckless and he took on g2. After this, the position is already drawn because white is able to rob the pawn. Knight d5 check, king d2, knight b4, and after rook a7, knight c6, the white rook has got the best job and where it is very good at, just working in the corner, supporting the pawn. Actually, the rooks love the past pawns because they simply are able to help them with the movement. The movement of a pawn is very similar to the movement of the rook, so the rook can simply control every next square nicely, so that's very helpful. Now I played rook c7, and you can see how uncomfortable the knight feels compared to the rook when the play is close to the corner. King g6, king c3, bishop d5, I played rook d7. Black cannot really take because white takes on f7. Knight d5, rook c7, king g5. Now black is materially, of course, up, but the fact that the game is being played in the corner of the chessboard is the most important. Now black has lost the knight, and this is, of course, a trivial draw. White is able to stop the pawns. So please remember the first thing about the rooks, which is the rooks are much stronger compared to minor pieces, especially the knights, when the play is on the edges of the board or especially in the corners.